not representative of Islam.
Do you think he's a dangerous man, Graham Fuller?
I think he's performing a very negative role in staying in the United States. Definitely, the majority of American Muslims, I think, would be strongly opposed to his message, to his style. I think American Muslims generally see him as smearing the community, damaging the community's own image with goals that, by and large, I would guess 99% of them do not share. The question is, what can be done with him? If he is in this country as in some legal form of status and has not technically violated the law, I think it's going to be very difficult to remove him. But his position here, his role in the United States, I think is quite different than it would be in Egypt, where he would be in a position to talk to a very broad, unhappy, in many ways alienated mass of the population that is far more responsive to this kind of a message than any American Muslim community would be here.
Mr. Kankan, do you agree that that is what Sheikh Rahman's goal is basically to overthrow the Egyptian state and create a more fundamentalist Islamic state there?
I believe we should really go into some background. The Muslim people in the Middle East and all over the world have really been frustrated. They have been defeated. They have been occupied by colonialism. They have been occupied by Zionism. They have been killed they are being killed in Bosnia and in Somalia and so on. And their government don't seem to be able to do anything about it. And what he is really saying, he's just expressing the frustration of many people, although it is against Islamic principles what he is preaching. But there are single people who have been hurt by, whether it's British or French colonialism or French or Israeli occupation of Palestine, or by seeing their Bosnian colleagues being killed by a Christian Serb government, and yet they see the West doing nothing about it. They punish Somali leader, they punish an Iraqi leader, they punish, yet there are UN resolutions against Israel and the US does nothing about it. There are resolutions against Serbs and the US does nothing about it. So there is a frustration that is growing and brewing. And he gets ears that will listen.
But you do not think that he is deliberately fomenting revolution by force in Egypt or terrorism in this country? He's not deliberately inciting other people to violence?
He is saying he's definitely inciting people, yes. But he is saying it in such a way that is playing into the frustration of the majority of the people. That, look, we have been defeated, we have been killed, we have been massacred, the women are being raped in Bosnia, and the West is doing nothing about it. And yet when it comes to Iraq or to Somalia and so on, boom, 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 we go and attack, and double standard. People are frustrated, they don't know what to do.
Fuad Ajami mentioned, Judith Miller, Fuad Ajami mentioned the Khomeini analogy, which the Sheikh, you said, may fantasize about. How importantly does Rahman rank as a religious leader, and is it total fantasy for him to think of himself as another Khomeini?
I think it's total fantasy. I mean, the comparisons are just ludicrous. Khomeini, no matter what one thinks of what he did as the leader of Iran, was a great scholar, was a leading Islamic thinker for many, many years. With all due respect to what Ghazi said, really, Sheikh Omar Abdul-Rahman was kind of a second-rater. He taught out in the sticks. He didn't represent anybody. He never wrote a book that was of importance. I mean, Fuad, do you agree with that? I just think that the man has delusions. And moreover, my sense of what's happening in Egypt is that these bombings that have now been targeted at ordinary Egyptians have really turned a lot of Egyptian people against the kind of tactics that Omar Abdul Rahman has been preaching. I think that
So he
they're
does
beginning
not
to think
have, the
about it.
soil is not right the way it was for Khomeini in Iran?
Not at all.
In Egypt?
These
or-
are two very different countries, one in which the Egyptian state is enormously powerful. Egyptians are very religious, but I don't believe they're fanatical, and they're not particularly militant. And I don't think that they would ever follow a man like Omar Abdul Rahman. I don't think that's the real choice. That's a straw issue.
Graham Fuller, from what you said before, do you think the reason the Sheikh is being kept here, or is being permitted to stay here, apart from the legal steps, which we'll come to in a moment, which he's going through, is because there's some understanding between the U.S. government and Mubarak's government that it's better to have him here than there?
No, I find it very difficult to think that there would be that kind of a compact between the two governments. I mean, basically, the law takes its own course here. He has a legal case either to make. It will be made or not made. I find it difficult to think of any kind of collusion. But the problem is, you see, in the Middle East itself, there is a great degree of paranoia about what this man means and why he is in the United States. There's tremendous respect for the United States' capabilities, its intelligence, its ability to do things far in excess of reality, so that when a guy like this gets a visa, when he comes to the United States, when he stays here, when he seems to preach against the Egyptian government, when he appears on CNN, or when he's the subject of indeed a program like this at great length, which is then shown in Egypt, lots and lots of Egyptians feel that somehow this is an effort by the United States to cultivate a new Khomeini, but this time somebody who is in our pockets. There have even been stories suggesting that because he played ball, that he maybe played ball with the United States in supporting the Afghan Mujahideen, and therefore the U.S. government owes him one and is trying to help him out or pay him back as a result of all of this. These kinds of ideas are feeding...
I read somewhere that Mubarak himself had suspicions that he was a CIA
yes, he
employee
did.
or on the payroll.
Mubarak said that explicitly, although the very next day the Egyptian government withdrew, said that he was misunderstood.
Do you...
Did you suspicions about Khomeini, incidentally, to show you how...
Did he really? Do you agree with Graham Fuller that there is probably no deal between the United States and Egypt to keep the Sheikh here?
Absolutely not. I mean, I don't think there's any. I think it was a case of total bureaucratic bungling and incompetence. Here's a man who has a long rap sheet on him in Cairo. He goes right next door to Khartoum in the Sudan. He lives in the Sudan, but he finds life in the Sudan intolerable. Why? Well, because the phones don't work. He can't call his followers in Egypt. He comes to Jersey City and you launch the revolution, you fight the good fight from afar. So I think it's really basically, it was a case of bureaucratic bungling on the part of the U.S. government.
Let's come now to the events here recently, the World Trade Center bombing and then the plot that was uncovered last week to bomb the United Nations and so on. Peg Tyre, how closely can the authorities link Sheikh Rahman to those events?
Well, I've been told that there is a taped conversation between the Omar and one of the conspirators, the alleged conspirators, in which he's speaking about an event. What the event is a little unclear. So I think that they believe that they have one of his closest associates who is their informant. I think that they have him very tightly, but not enough to, it would seem, not enough to arrest him.
Uh-huh. And what are the steps now in the deportation proceedings and the appeals against that? Describe where we are in that process and what might happen to him.
Well, he's been, as far as I understand, been denied political asylum. He has been ruled deportable. He then is appealing to, I think it's called the Board of Immigration Appeals. They'll make a ruling within between 4 months and a year. The U.S. government has asked that process be speeded up. At that point, he can take it to a district court. If it's a decision that goes against him, he can take it into the district court, again to the Court of Appeals. It can take 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, according to lawyers who I've talked to, immigration lawyers.
What do you understand of the Sheikh's legal status here and the prospects of his being deported or his being permitted to stay?
I think he, like any other person who claims asylum, will have his day in court, and really the media should not play up this man and make him like a Khomeini, as Fuad said. He's not really that type. The media seems to have become the judge, the jury, and the prosecutor at the same time. Let's give the man his day in court. I wish he would be here so you can question him directly.
We've asked him. Yeah.
I appeal to him in Arabic, رجاء اقبل دعوة Mr. Lehrer, because it is really important.
MacNeil.
And MacNeil.
Whichever.
Lehrer, MacNeil.
Yeah.
Because it is important for, he's being, so many stories have been told about him. Let's listen to him speak directly, hopefully.
Hasn't he had enough chance to get his point of view across? I mean, he goes on CNN and he calls for the overthrow of the Egyptian government on CNN. I think we've heard a fair amount from him.
We hear bits and bytes here and there, but not a full questioning period, I think, is necessary.
Let me come back to his status here now and what, if anything, the U.S. government should do to, on grounds that, as Mr. Fuller said, he may be dangerous. What should the U.S. government, the Clinton administration, do? Let the legal proceedings on his appeal from deportation take its course, or say he's dangerous and we have to do something about it?
Well, I'm not really a man of the law. I mean, I have, I think my interest.
But you must have an opinion on it.
My sense of it, look, this is a very dangerous character, and I mean, to hark back to his old trail, this is a man who in 1981 was found with gold that was taken from Coptic jewelers who were killed and raided in Egypt and so on. I mean, I think that, but you know, here we are. I mean, we are here in 1993. This is a liberal society. This man knows the rules and knows the ropes of it. He has an appeal pending, and I'm afraid we will have to just wait to the tail end of this.
Graham Fuller, what is your opinion on this?
Well, the difficulty is really what this is going to mean to the Egyptian government if he goes back. I agree that this man is not a Khomeini. He does not have a fine vision of, or indeed a true vision at all of any political sophistication. The problem is that Egypt itself is in a relatively moving towards an explosive situation, I would say, over the longer run. And it's where you have a government and a society in which there is really no opposition left now due to the polarization of the situation. There's no opposition left except the Islamic fundamentalists. And this leaves really very little alternative to the public, either going with the government or going with the fundamentalists that I would say a majority doesn't like. But it's a very unhealthy situation. And the return of a man like this, although no Khomeini, he will not come back in and triumph or anything like that. It's yet just another headache to a government that I fear is not handling as deftly as it could the opportunity to play off a broad gauge of opposition one against another to deflate the Islamists themselves.
Well, therefore, Judith Miller, is it in the United States' interest to keep him here?
Well, it's just a point of fact. I think the last place in the world that Omar Abdul Rahman is going to go is Egypt. Number one, Egypt hasn't asked for his extradition. Number two, Omar Abdul Rahman gets to choose under our proceedings where he goes because we are not deporting him. We are attempting to exclude him, which means tomorrow he can get on a plane and go to the Sudan. So I think that if there is some question about whether or not he is a danger to the public or poses a danger to the public, while the law is being given a chance to judge his suitability here, that perhaps we ought to consider Senator D'Amato's plea to at least ensure public safety by incarcerating him, which can be done under the law. I guess that's up to Janet Reno to decide. But I think if there's any question at all, and now he's been connected with two terrorist attempts, one successful, one not, perhaps that ought to be considered.
Connected, but still in an abstract sense. There is still
he has not been charged with anything.
We've just heard that there is there's no provable link between him and these things. What has Senator D'Amato, who was claimed to be, reported to be one of the targets of the assassination attempts plotted by these people who were arrested last week, what is he seeking to do?
Well, as I understand it, under the law, he can be incarcerated while his appeals are he's seeking an appeal, and D'Amato has actually called for him to be put in prison while this is going on, and it's not an uncommon thing. There's jails full of people who are waiting for their immigration status to be cleared up. I guess the question is, what are the repercussions here in New York if he is put in jail?
Repercussions like what?
Well, certainly he has people who he's influencing in such a way that they feel comfortable enough to make a gigantic bomb and blow up the Holland Tunnel, or that's their plan. I guess there's some question as to whether putting him in jail would make him more of a martyr figure to those followers.
What would be the reaction among, in the Islamic community in the New York area if he were incarcerated?
I think we are really blowing the thing up more than what it is. Let's give the man a chance in his court and see whether he is guilty or not. The First Amendment, the Republic is so strong that the speech of one single man is not going to create havoc. The Republic is going to stay here. We're going to stay for many, many years after he's gone. But we should not be afraid of this single man. Let him speak, so what?
You think we shouldn't be afraid of this single man?
No, we shouldn't be afraid of prosecuting him.
Of course not.
If this man is linked to a bomb that killed several people, if this man is linked to a conspiracy that we intercepted, if this man is linked to subverting an allied government that we care about, in effect, you know, there's enough evidence on him. See, we don't know. You're exactly right. It's really Janet Reno's call. We're not lawyers, but it is somewhat. I mean, you do have on display, I think, in the Umar Abdurrahman case, the vulnerability of a great liberal society, that even its enemies are welcomed, and even its enemies can abuse its rules and can abuse its hospitality. I mean, here is this man who was preaching in Asyut, preaching violence, and the evidence on him there in Egypt is overwhelming. I mean, read the transcripts of the Egyptian police. The Egyptian government is amazingly proficient in the production of documents. I've read these documents. They're incredible. There is no doubt in my mind as to the kind of man Umar Abdurrahman is and the kind of things he's been doing.
Well,
if I could...
I'm awfully sorry to cut you off, Mr. Fuller, but that is the end of our time. So I'll thank you and all the rest here for joining us.
Again, the main stories of this Tuesday: a U.S. warplane attacked an Iraqi radar site after it locked on to the American jet. President Clinton said the U.S. has evidence the Iraqi officials at the highest level hatched the plot to kill former President Bush. A congressional report said Iraq has regained most of its conventional weapons capability destroyed in the Gulf War. And flooding along the Mississippi River disrupted life and commerce in 5 states. Good night, Robin.
Good night, Roger. That's the News Hour for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night. I'm Robert MacNeil. Good night.
Part of helping the world live and communicate better is keeping it well informed. That's why funding for the MacNeil-Lehrer NewsHour is provided by AT&T and by PepsiCo. And by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and viewers like you.
I'm Nancy Marshall with OPB Radio. Tomorrow morning from 5 to 9 on OPB Radio, it's Morning Edition. Tomorrow, heavy rains in the Midwest are causing planting delays that could mean higher food prices. That's tomorrow morning on OPB Radio.
Video cassettes of the MacNeil-Lehrer NewsHour are available from PBS Video. Call 1-800-328-PBS-1.
This is PBS.